Hello, sports fans, and welcome to the Weekend Eve. I am Brian Kress, the Awesome Voice, and this is Any Given Sunday on KUAW. Coach 24, Darwin Penny, my brother with another mother, is out finding more talent and even better talent than what the Royals have right now, which I can say is a little bit difficult to find it right now, as great as they're playing. But he is out finding some more talent down in the South, and behind the scenes running the show, DJ Scatter, George Walker. Mr. Walker, how are you doing this evening?
Hey, I'm doing wonderful this evening. Really enjoying myself.
Oh, that's awesome. 816-599-6893 is the phone number. Give us a call, speak your piece, or if you have any questions, feel free to call in and get that going. So, we are starting off on a great note. Now, last week, and first of all, I want to say I apologize for my show last week. I know that I was a little lackadaisical, kind of. I've had some personal issues to deal with, so I felt that I didn't give the best performance. Hey, I did give it my all. It just wasn't good enough. And so tonight, for sure, it will be a better show. So, saying that, last Thursday, I was complaining about the Royals. They had just lost 2 out of 3 games from the Baltimore Orioles when they could have easily had swept them. Now, saying that, I said, look, they are playing the White Sox. The White Sox are roughly one of the worst teams, if not the worst team, in baseball. And I know that some of the guys had not been hitting well. The relievers, there was 3 relievers in particular. We had James MacArthur, we had Nick Anderson, and we had Will Smith. And the lowest ERA for those 3 guys was like 10.50, and Will Smith had a 20.20 ERA. And so, and with that, cost us 2 games. And I said that the Royals cannot afford to lose games like this in the beginning. It doesn't matter what happened last year. Yes, they won 56 games, lost 106. But this was a new year, and they were talking about how the changes were with the Royals, and this was going to be a better team. And they started off 2-4, which wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. And I said that they had to win 3 out of 4 from the White Sox and move forward. Well, they listened to me because they followed my instructions, and they started hitting the ball, they started pitching the ball, and since last Thursday, they have not lost a game. They have won 7 games in a row. They had the 7-game homestand against the White Sox and the Houston Astros, who have been one of the top 5 teams in the past decade, and they swept them. 7 games, 7 wins, 0 losses. And the last time that happened, I was 22 years old. It was 1988, the last time the Royals had won a 7-game homestand where they went 7-0. Now, they have won 8 home games straight. They started off losing the first 2 to the Twins, and then they ended up winning the final game. And then they've turned around, won 7 games these past 2 series. And so just for kicks, I am going to tell you the players that were on that team, or actually the team that was in the lineup. It was I believe it was in late May or early June. They had won their 7th game to win to go 7-0 in the homestand. To make them 30-28 in 1988. Now, if you remember, they ended up taking second place in the AL West division behind the Oakland Athletics, who was on the verge of their first World Series out of 3 in a row with the Bash brothers and Dennis Eckersley and Dave Stewart. So, saying this, batting first was number 1, Kirk Stillwell. He was playing shortstop. Now, Kirk Stillwell came from Cincinnati. He was a shortstop. He was a switch hitter, and actually he was pretty decent, but still didn't get totally everything we wanted out of him. And then batted second, number 6, Willie Wilson in center field. Obviously one of the Royals' greatest players of all time. Batting third, at first base, George Brett, best player ever wearing a Royals uniform. Now, Bobby Witt has an opportunity to match him or maybe even surpass him. But right now, George Brett is top dog for the Royals. Number 4, batting cleanup, Danny Tartable. He played right field. Now, number 5, number 33, Kevin Seitzer. He played third base. And yes, he has the Mackin Sights hitting academy down on Holmes Road in Kansas City. So with him and Mike McFarland. Then number 14, batting 6, number 14, the DH was Bill Buckner. Yes, the same Bill Buckner that let the ball go between his legs for the Boston Red Sox in the 1986 World Series that allowed Ray Knight to come around third and score, and ended up winning Game 6, and then they ended up taking Game 7 to take the World Series away from the Boston Red Sox. Batting 7th, number 20, Frank White. And there are some people who still adore him and love him. His number is retired by the Royals, and some of them do not like him very well with everything that's going on now. But he was a great player for the Royals, and he has it retired. He was playing second base. Number 22, batting 8th, Jim Eisenreich, and he played left field. And I have done laundry, not necessarily with him, but next to him. So, hey, that was fun. I had a good time with that. And batting 9th, the catcher, number 9, Jamie Quirk. And Jamie Quirk is roughly George Brett's best friend. He was George Brett's best friend when he was playing for the Royals. And then pitching was number 18, Brett Saberhagen. And he pitched 7 1/3 innings, and they beat the Oakland A's. And then Jeff Montgomery came in, finished the last inning and 2/3 to pick up the save. So the last time that the Royals had won a 7-game homestand going 7-0 was in 1988. Now, saying this, they beat the White Sox. Yeah, they struggled a little bit in the fourth game of the series, but they came back and they ended up winning. And so they play Houston, and you're going, okay, they just beat the White Sox. They're a bad team. What about Houston? Now, saying this, Houston is 4-10. They are not a good team as of right now, but they are a team that can come back. Kansas City could not afford to have a 4-8 record after 12 games this year. So they came in. Houston immediately starts off early against Cole Reagans. He gave up 3 runs. He struck out 5, gave up I think a career-high 10 hits, and his ERA jumped up to 2.60. That tells you a lot when he gave up 3 runs in 5 innings, and his ERA only jumped up to 2.60. Saying that, the Royals came back after being down 3-0 after the 4th inning, came back and just slowly picked at him. They scored 3 runs in the 5th inning, and then the bullpen, which went 20 innings in this homestand without giving up a run. Now, remember, last Thursday we were talking about how bad the relieving the bullpen was, and it was costing the Royals games. Saying that, after the fifth inning, they went scoreless, and then in the 10th inning, Perez singled the center, scored Hampton, who was pinch running for Vinny Pasquantino, who at the end of that game was only batting 108. Now, Miguel Garcia was batting 222, but we had Bobby Witt at 333. We had Perez at 341. We had Melendez at 333. Velazquez, he's at 333 or 323. And then the guys that we brought in, Adam Frazier and Hunter Renfroe, were 217 and 156 batting averages separately. And so after that, I said we got to give Vinny a chance to get back into the rhythm, because he had been out for most of last year, and he was out at the end of the year. Saying that, we go to today's game. They won the last two games. They scored 24 runs against the Houston Astros, who had a pretty decent pitching unit. But obviously they did not have that great of a pitching unit this year, or at least in this series. The Royals scored 9 runs in the first inning. That pretty much seals the deal. Now, saying this, they scored, the bullpen finally gave up a run in the 6th inning, where Diaz hit a home run and sent Brady Singer out, because he had only given up 1 run. Gave up 1 run on 5 hits, and his ERA jumped. It doubled, actually. So you're thinking, oh no, it doubled. It doubled from .55 to .98. It is still under 1. Now, Nick Anderson came in, and he had been pitching well in these 6 games up until today. Well, he gives up 2 runs and walks 3 batters. Now, saying this, you can't walk batters, and that has been the key to Royals pitching. They have not walked a lot of batters. Well, Nick Anderson was allowing the Astros to come back into the game, and so they had Brady Singer had walked 2, and Nick Anderson walked 3. Well, the manager, Matt Q, got him out, brought in Zerpa. Zerpa got him out with 2 pitches and ended the inning and ended the rally, because they had Houston had Alvarez, who was the best hitter for the Astros, and he had the bases loaded, and he ended up walking. They ended up walking him to get in their run, which actually that's okay, because you didn't want him to give up a grand salami. But saying that, after they scored the 3 runs, then the Royals came back. Pasquantino doubled, scoring Witt Jr., and then Witt Jr. hit his 3rd home run of the series, and actually it was the 2nd home run of the game, which gives him it gives him, hold on. Gives him 5 home runs, and so no. Oh no, I'm sorry, that was RBIs. My bad. He hit his 3rd and 4th home run of the game, or in the games, and 4 overall this season. And Pasquantino had 3 RBIs. Witt Jr. had 5 RBIs. Lofton had 2 RBIs. Garcia had 2 RBIs. So we talked about Brady Singer, but we were talking about the Royals hitters. Now, Garcia, who started off well at the beginning of the season, he went down to 226, so he jumped up .004 in his average. But Bobby Witt Jr. was 4 for 5 today, 4 runs, 5 RBIs, hit 2 home runs, did not strike out. His average now is 358, and his on-base percentage is 414. His slugging percentage is 755. That is awesome. Now, Pasquantino, who had a 108 batting average 2 days ago on Tuesday, is now, he went 3 for 3 on Wednesday. He went 3 for 5 today, and he jumps up to 222. That is an impressive 142 or 40. I'm sorry, 114 percentage. So he doubled his average. Salvi, he had 1 for 3. He's batting 333. Melendez is batting 325. Valdez, and I've got to get his name right, but he's batting 325. So you see these averages, you look at the Houston Astros and go, okay, they have these types of averages. Well, the Royals are having these type of averages, and the pitching has been amazing. So yesterday, I believe they were 6 of 12 in runners in scoring position. Today they were 6 for 11 in runners in scoring position. So the one thing that they had been struggling early in the season, they are starting to pick it up. So hopefully we can keep this. Now, saying this, everybody's going, well, yeah, but this is early. Well, let's get excited, because if they were 4-10 like the Astros instead of 9-4, we would already said, well, they're done for the season. Well, why can't we say this is just the beginning, and let's go out there and support this team? Now they have a 3-game series with the New York Mets in New York, and then they turn around for a 3-game series against the Chicago White Sox. So they play 6 games. They will come back Friday night. So we need to come out there next Friday and support this team. And yes, I do need to get out there also, and I do plan on getting out there. So sometime that weekend, you need to come out there. We need to get 27 to 32,000 people all weekend long. Let's get 90,000 people out there. We got to support this team. This team is finally starting to click, and they're finally starting to play well. We need to show them, just like we did in 2014, 15, and 16. And the last time that we had a record of 9-4 was 2016. That was the year after we had won the World Series. So we need to have these guys. We need to support these guys, and let's get it going, man. And I am really stoked. So I am wearing my Salvi jersey today. I believe last week I wore a Ventura jersey. So this is awesome. So anyway, I am just really stoked about the Royals. Now, saying this, we'll move on to the biggest sport going on right now, and that is the Masters. And Bryson DeChambeau, he shot 7 under. He shot a 65 today, and has a 1-stroke lead over Scotty Scheffler, who is trying to complete the Grand Slam. He is 1 Masters title away from the Grand Slam. And so he started off slow, but he came back in the back 9, and I believe he birdied in 5 of the 9 holes. Chambeau did good too. Tiger Woods is -1. Now, I am just stoked about how Tiger is doing. He is. They started late today because they had a rain shower. Started nearly 3 hours late, so there are going to be possibly some players that will not be able to finish, and I'm not sure Tiger Woods will be able to finish. I think he's going to be one of those guys that are going to have to start off early. Brooks Koepka, he's even. Phil Mickelson is +1. Roy McIlroy is 1 under. But you've got Danny Willett, who I believe won the Masters in like 2015 or 2016. He's at -4. We've got Hoegaard. He is -5. So we've got some really good golf. And I'm telling you what, if Tiger makes the cut for this Masters, he will break the tie for the most consecutive years of making the Masters, breaking the tie with Fred Couples and Gary Player at 23. Now, fourth is a local flavor who is my favorite my golfer of all time, and that is Tom Watson. So that is pretty awesome. And so we oh, I know. I just totally froze up for a second. So who do you think's what do you think about Tiger Woods in the Masters?
Well, I tell you, I thought he already had made the cut. He hasn't made the cut.
No, this is the first round.
Okay.
So they've got 3 more rounds.
All right. So Tiger's in there. If he can pull it off, I mean, with the pins in him and everything else that he's got going on, if he can pull it off, that would be outstanding because, I mean, he's almost like the Bionic Man out there.
Yeah,
a lot of metal.
Yeah, he does have a lot of metal. Now, saying that, he really had to fight hard to get at 1 under. Sometimes he overshot the green. Some of his shots just didn't quite get there. He didn't judge the wind the way he should because afterwards the weather was beautiful, but it was very, very windy. And so when you're trying to get to Amen's corner, which is 15, 16, and 16, 17, and 18, and you can get by those, you're doing all right. So, and I'm telling you what, if Tiger Woods is in on Sunday, everybody's going to be watching. And I know that there'll be people that will be watching the Masters because they will always enjoy it. But just like Tom Brady, people want to see Tom Brady. People want to see Caitlin Clark. When so they had a great, they had a great tournament and everything like that. But everybody wanted to see Caitlin Clark. Well, Tiger Woods was the first one to do that in golf.
Oh yeah.
And so, even though he's gone through a lot of personal issues, a lot of health issues, he's actually getting close to my age. Oh my gosh, I am really getting old.
Yeah, he's had quite a life.
Yeah, he's almost, I believe he's 48 now. He's getting close to 50. So, but the thing of it is, he is still a draw. Everybody wants to watch him, and they cheer for him huge. And it is just awesome to see him play, and the fact that he's still playing pretty decent. And now it's definitely not the old Tiger, because Tiger would be up there. But a lot of times he kind of played in the back, and then he'd just start moving up in the second and third rounds, and then he'd just take over in the fourth round. So I'm just telling you, I really would love to see Tiger at least challenge for the green jackets. So, but we're at halftime on any given Sunday on KUAW, and we're going to take a quick break, and then when we get back, we are going to talk about the sport that had been the topic, which is the NCAA tournaments. And I've got a lot of stats and a lot of numbers for you guys to see. And so with that, 816-599-8693 is the phone number. Give us a call. So we're going to take a quick break, and then we will get back. And this is KUAW.
and you're listening to KUAW Radio, Kansas City's global community radio station. You can pick up this show every Thursday from 6 to 7 o'clock, and there are other shows throughout the week. So continue to listen to KUAW Radio and tell your friends, like and share KUAW Radio.
All right, we're back for the second half of Any Given Sunday on KUAW. Coach 24, Darwin Penny, is scouting Royals player or soon-to-be Royals players. And George Walker, DJ Scatter, he is behind the scenes running the show. And I am Brian Kress, the Awesome Voice. And so last weekend on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and Monday, we had the Final Fours. We had the women's that were in Cleveland, and we had the men's that were in Phoenix. And I'm telling you what, those were some great games. Caitlin Clark showed up. Angel Reese had phenomenal, or no, not Angel Reese, I'm sorry. It was UConn and Paige Beckers. UConn was going to try and get the title to the same with the men's title. So, but Caitlin Clark won the semifinals. And I will say this. When I predicted last week, I predicted Iowa to beat Connecticut. I said that Iowa was going to wear down Connecticut, and they played only 6 players. And so with that, Paige Beckers ended up playing 160 minutes in the last 4 games out of 160 minutes. She did not get a break, and the only breather she got was in the TV timeouts. Caitlin Clark just totally lit it up. She had 41 points, and she was getting close to setting the women's all-time tournament record, which was set by Shamika Holdsclaw, who played for Tennessee in the late 90s. She had 475, and then Maya Moore was second at that time with 474 points. So Shamika had 475, and Maya Moore had 474. And Caitlin Clark in the finals ended up with 491 points, 152 assists, and 78 three-pointers. The 491 points are now the all-time NCAA women's record for points in a tournament. So that congratulations. Now look, on Caitlin Clark, you can love her or you can hate her. And either way, it is a good thing because the thing with that is everybody is coming out to go see him. Now, Coach or DJ Scatter, did you watch any of those games?
Yeah, we were glued in on the last couple of them. My wife was pretty, what should I say, taken with the action that was going on there. So, yeah, we watched that. It was it was good. The last two games, the last game was really good,
Right.
but even the game before then was good. But the because the LSU game had a lot of hype behind it. It's kind of like the team that beat the other team the other year to keep them out lost, and the team that beat South Carolina to keep them out the
Right.
year before lost. So it's kind of interesting how that kind of played out, you know. But I thought that the women's game was looking real good. It's good to see them getting some of their props and making a bigger splash on the whole network scene, because it's been a lot of women playing good basketball for quite a few years, and now for it to get the eyeballs that it deserves is a good thing.
And that is absolutely true because the last 30 years they've had great women players. I mean, you had Tennessee and Pat Summitt. You had UConn and Gino Ariema, and you had other teams spill in there. You had Cheryl Swoops from Texas Tech. You've had Cheryl Miller, though her was in the early '80s and more around my time than in the last few years. But then you had Lisa Leslie, who also played for USC, and she was a dominant. In fact, in high school, in a 16-minute game, she scored 101 points.
Now that's remarkable.
Yeah, that is.
And the thing will be is to see if this can carry over into the WNBA.
Right.
Now
Well,
that's what it counts in. If we can't get the eyeballs or the butts and seats on that, then it makes all your college players work kind of like in vain. So hopefully this momentum, and it may not happen all in 1 year that it all picks up, but if we see an uptick in attendance and an uptick in viewership in the WNBA, that'll be starting to bring things around.
absolutely. And Caitlin Clark is the person responsible. Now, the team that the team that beat her to win the crown and to go undefeated and to be the 10th women's team to win a championship and go undefeated, Dawn Staley, she's credited Caitlin Clark for all this. She gave her so much props. And like I said, whether you like her or whether you don't like her, it is awesome because, Tom Brady, a lot of people love Tom Brady, and there was a lot of people who hated Tom Brady. But the point was, you watch Tom Brady, and that's what they did with Caitlin Clark, because the last 3 games in college, Caitlin Clark had 12.6 million, 14.8 million, and 18.9 million, which the 18.9 million was the most watched basketball game of all time in the NCAA. Men's, women, it didn't matter. It was the top watched basketball game in the NCAA ever. And think about it. They did it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, where everything is at prime time. You did this at 2 o'clock on a Sunday, and everybody still watched her. And then you had Monday night, which was the perfect setting for the men's basketball tournament, the championship game. You had Purdue, you had UConn. And, in fact, all 4 teams were the number 1 and number 2 seeds in both of them. And the men's only got 14.6 million viewers, which is 4 million less than they did watching Caitlin Clark. So
It's all in having star power. I mean, you look at the NBA when Michael Jordan was playing. I mean, when you have a star, when you have that person, and every sport almost needs that, that starts bringing people to say, oh, well, I'll watch the whole thing.
right.
And what Caitlin Clark was that icon that moved it up a level. And like it or not, you could even say that with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce bringing in the Taylor Swift movement have moved that up another level. I mean,
Yep.
it takes, not that they did anything extraordinary, although they were pretty extraordinary, but it's different things that come together that all of a sudden it lifts the whole boat a little bit and stuff. The NFL, for all the commentators that like to say that, some like Taylor Swift's involvement in there, some don't like Taylor Swift's involvement, but it brought more eyeballs to the game.
Well, and with that, it brought younger girls to watch a product.
Right.
So
right.
Caitlin Clark brought women
Younger girls
to watch
the same thing.
exactly
The same
and,
thing.
You know, and sometimes we have kind of put women, you know, as you could so-called say, put them in the proverbial kitchen and laundry room and had them do that instead of watching it and finding out what's going on, where now you've got them watching the basketball game, getting excited about it, and wanting to go and do and be a Caitlin Clark. You know, a lot of people wanted to be a Michael Jordan or Walter Payton or Wayne Gretzky. Now you've got or George Brett. Now you've got people wanting to be a Caitlin Clark. You know, I mean, going out there. Now there was other players, Camelia Cardosa, the 6'7" gal from South Carolina, who she just totally just filled that middle.
That's a big young lady.
That was
she was dominant.
Yes, she was
in her position. It's going to be interesting to see her in the pros.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, yeah, she was there. I mean, I thought, wow, that's somebody you can't go around.
Right, exactly. And Caitlin Clark was the first women's player to win a scoring title in the NCAA and make it to the title game. Now, saying this, there has been only one person, men's or women, that led the nation in scoring and led their team to a title. Do you know who that is?
Michael Jordan.
Nope.
Who was it?
No. It was Clyde Leavitt in 1952 for the Kansas Jayhawks. So 52 years. So that was 14 years before I was even born, which roughly is 72 years ago. I mean, we wasn't even thought of at that time. So, but that's how long it has been since a player had led the nation in scoring and led them to their team title. So that made it even more important, and I know a lot of people wanted Caitlin Clark to win that, but it didn't happen. You had a team effort by South Carolina, and so with this, like I said, they became the 10th team in NCAA history, or women's NCAA history, to go undefeated and win a title. And the other ones were Baylor, who did it. They were 40-0. You had the Tennessee Volunteers in 97-98. You had Texas, who was the first team to do it. Now realize that the NCAA women's did not start until 1981-1982 season. So Texas, that's why Texas has it at 86 and 85-86, where they were 34-0. And then you had UConn, who did it five times? I believe 6 times. And I don't – oh, yeah, they have them 6 times in 2014 or 2013-14, 9-10, 15, 16, 94, 95, 8, 9, and 01, 02. And so with this, I am going to get a list of the top 10 women's undefeated teams. So the 10, I'm going to rank them. Though I probably and just because of my bias, I am putting Tennessee Lady Vols ahead of the 2001, 2002 UConn Huskies. So they had the three Meeks, which was Shamika Holdsclaw, Tamika Catchings, and Samika Randall, and they were called the three Meeks. And they actually had, in the regional final, they were down to North Carolina by 12 in the regional final, but they came back and beat them. And then they ended up beating Arkansas by 28 and Louisiana Tech by 18 and just totally ran them over. So saying that, I have them number one, but really the number one team is the 2001-2002 UConn Huskies because they had Sue Bird, Swin Cash, Aja Jones, Tamika Williams, and Diana Tarzay. That is a phenomenal team. They won their games by 26.8 points. Only Oklahoma came close to them, but still lost by 12 points. And 22 years later, Tarzay is still playing in the WNBA, and Bird played until 2 years ago. So that is amazing. How many NBA players do you see playing 22 years? LeBron James hasn't even played 22 years yet, but he's trying to get there because he wants to play with the Sun. So number 3 is the 2008-2009 UConn Huskies. They were 39-0. They had Maya Moore, and Maya Moore was just a beast, and she was phenomenal. Renee Montgomery, who they all had WNBA careers, and they started what was the longest division basketball winning streak in history, reaching 90 games before it ended in December of 2010. Now, they beat the men's record of UCLA that had 88. So I don't I used to get upset about, it was a women's, it's 90, they had their record, it doesn't count. No, they won 90 games, and that is impressive for any team. So I will give them their props. And then number 4 was the 1985-1986 Texas Longhorns. And so before the women's went into the NCAA, they played in the AIAU or AW, which, to be honest, I don't know what that stands for, but it's some type of alliance. But they played there before they actually went to the NCAA. And the Longhorns lost to Rutgers in 1982, which was the last AIAU championship game in 1982, because that year Louisiana Tech won the very first NCAA women's tournament by beating Cheney to get the first title. Now, saying that, Longhorns did join the NCAA after that, and so 3 years later, there was a gal named Clarissa Davis, and I remember watching her. Oh my gosh, they beat Cheryl Miller and USC by 16 points in that championship game. That will tell you something, because Cheryl Miller was the bomb. Reggie Miller will tell you that she is the Hall of Famer in their family. He is nowhere near her. She will kick his butt. That's how good she was. So this was just totally awesome. But I had them at number 4. Number 5 was the 94-95 UConn Huskies, which was, I believe, their first it was their second Final Four appearance and their second title, because they did win in 91. But Oh no, I'm sorry. This is their first title. Uh, they made it in '91, but they lost in the semis. But you had Rebecca Lobo, Jennifer Rizziotti, Kara Walters, Jamel Elliott, and Nikisha Sales, and that was a bad team, and they beat Tennessee on Martin Luther King Day for the showdown, and met them again in the national championship, beating Tennessee 70-64. And so at that time, Tennessee was the team. They were the Chiefs, the Boston Celtics, the L.A. Lakers in the prime time, and so Tennessee, and so for UConn to beat them, that was very impressive. So, but saying that, I am still upset that Tennessee lost to them. Now I've got number 6, the 2015-2016 UConn Huskies. They went 38-0, and this team was just as close. They were how close were they to 3 consecutive perfect seasons? Brianna Stewart was the star on the team and was in the draft pick in 2016. This squad started to turn out the longest winning streak in basketball history, which actually jumped up to 111 games. So they have 2 of the longest winning streaks in NCAA basketball history, men or women. So they had the 90, and then they have 111, which ended in the 2017 Final Four. And saying that, that is the only loss that Connecticut, men's or women's, had in the title game. They have played 18. They have played 18 title games and lost once. That is incredible. Even UCLA with John Wooden lost more title games than UConn has, men and women. That to me is completely impressive. So then I've got number 7. I've got the 2009-2010 UConn Huskies. They were still part of that 90-game winning streak that ended up breaking UCLA's program. You had Maya Moore, you had Tina Charles, you had Tiffany Haynes. I mean, these women, it was just so robotic. I mean, they were just plowing people over and just whooping everybody. It was almost to the point that they should have belonged into a different league. That's how well that they had played. Number 8, the 2011-2012 Baylor Bears. You had Brittany Griner, who was 6'8", and Odyssey Sims, and them with the center guard combo just totally just knocked them, just whooped up on them. Now, saying that, Texas A&M beat Baylor in the regional finals the previous year to win the national title, but the Bears next year made sure they took care of it. And in the regional finals, they beat Tennessee in the last game that Pat Summitt coached. And it still makes me sad that she had left as early as she did, because if she would have had stayed and still coaching to this day, her win record would be virtually untouchable. But saying that, the Bears beat Tennessee, and then the Bears beat Stanford, and then Notre Dame. And so that they were number 8. Number 9 is the South Carolina Gamecocks. You had Camelia Cardoso, you had Chloe Kitts, and in that game, they had 9 players playing in that game against Iowa. Every player scored, and 7 of the 9 had rebounds. They outscored their bench, Iowa's bench, 37-0. Iowa had no bench, so they they just virtually had the 5 players, and South Carolina just took care of it. Um, and Don Staley became the second SEC coach to win 3 or more titles, joining Pat Summitt, who obviously she had 8 of them. And then the last one, 2013-2014 UConn Huskies, you had Brianna Stewart, you had Natalie Ochoa, and they beat Notre Dame to take that title. So you had the top 10 women of all time. Now, saying this, you have the men's, and they have, well, actually, since 1991, there had been only 2 teams that had won back-to-back titles. Duke in 91-92, which is also a sore subject for me because Duke in 91 beat UNLV, who could have been the team that went back-to-back because they destroyed Duke by 30 points in that championship game. And I remember working for a T-shirt place, and I got a couple of those UNLV T-shirts that said National Champs. Now, I don't have them anymore, and I am very, very sad. So I can't. It really bothers me that I don't have them anymore. But that's okay. I do remember that. But saying that, they ended up. Duke ended up beating UNLV in the semis, and then they turned around and beat Kansas, which gave them their title in '91. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that was their first. I want to say that was their first title, and then you had Florida that won it in 2006 and 2007. They had Yakin Noah, whose dad, Joakim Noah, and his dad, Yakas Noah, was the professional tennis player. And then UConn in 2023, 2024 this year. Saying that, there has only been 8 teams, period, in the history of NCAA basketball, which started in 1939. And you had the Oklahoma State Cowboys, which was in 45 and 46. Kentucky, which was in 48, 49. San Francisco with Bill Russell and Casey Jones in 55 and 56. And then you had Cincinnati that had that amazing Oscar Robinson on the team, and they won it in 61 and 62. And then UCLA did it twice, 64, 65, 67 through 73. In fact, they are the only team, I believe, outside of Connecticut that has won it more than 2 times in a row, and they won it 5 times. I believe it was 5 times, 6 times. Maybe it was 7. So, anyway, they won it from 67 to 73. So there's not very many teams that have done that. Now, saying that, UConn is also the 3rd team to win a title winning 37 or more games. Do you know who the other 2 are? There are 3 teams to have won a title and win 37 games in the men's. UConn did it this year. Who are the other 2? Okay, Kentucky in 2011, 2012, they went 38 and 2. They had the best record, or the most wins. And Kansas in 2007, 2008, when they beat Memphis and John Calipari, they went 37 and 3. So, saying this, UConn now is tied for 3rd with North Carolina with 6 titles. Only Kentucky with 8 and UCLA with 11 have more. And then tied for 6th is Indiana and Kansas with 4, and then Louisville has has 3. So, and UConn, I'm giving you total numbers now. Saying this for the losing team, Purdue has won 49 NCAA tournament wins. That is the most wins in a NCAA tournament all time without winning a title. So they win again. They have made it to the finals 3 times and is 0 for 3. Now, Eddie is the third player all time with 35. He had 37 and 10. He is the third player to have 35 points and 10 rebounds in a title game, and the other 2 were UCLA players, Lou Alcindor, other known as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Bill Walton. So, Eddie is also, he scored 177 points in an NCAA tournament, single tournament, which is tied for second all time. And I do need to find out who he's tied with and who has more. And then he is also first in history with 6 20-point game, 20-point game, or 20 points and 10 rebound games. And he scored 61.7% of that team's points in that title game against UConn, which is the second highest in a title game all time. Now, Newton was the most valuable or most outstanding player. Had Eddie won that, he would have joined the only other person to be the most outstanding player on the losing team, and that was Akeem Olajuwon in 1983 when he was the outstanding player in the loss 54-52 to the North Carolina State Wolfpack. So we are at the end of Any Given Sunday on KUAW. We had a great show, and I was much better today, so I appreciate everybody who listened in to us. So hopefully next week, Coach 24 will not be here next week. So I am planning on bringing in guests the next 2 weeks. In fact, in 2 weeks for sure, I want to bring in Jimmy Ross, the head coach and the owner of the CMFL, the Central Midwest Football League, and in fact in 2 weeks they will start their season. Now next week will start the CMFL season. The Panthers will not play until the week after. So I would like to try to get in a couple of players and get the coach, and maybe Coach 24 will also be with us. So saying that, with Coach 24, my brother with another mother, Darwin Penny, and DJ Scatter, George Walker running the show for us. I am Brian Kress, the Awesome Voice. Be awesome, not angry, and you guys have yourself a phenomenal sports weekend.